Let me start by describing a scene that millions of Nigerians will recognize instantly. You just got your first salary alert. Maybe it's 120,000 naira. Maybe it's 250,000 naira. You have rent to pay, food to buy, maybe in some cases, student loans, maybe transport. You got nervous. Excited but nervous. This is just the beginning, mind you. Then your phone rings. It is your mother or your father or even your uncle. And before you can say hello, the conversation has turned into a financial meeting completely. Whether it's the roof needs fixing, the younger one needs school fees, your father's medication, your grandmother's hospital bill. And underneath all of it is the unspoken message that every Nigerian first generation earner knows. You made it. Now is your turn to carry us all along. This is not love. Well, it is to an extent, but it is also something else. It is a financial system, an informal pension arrangement, a generational contract that no one signed up for, but everyone is expected to honor. So today we are going to be talking about why African parents treat their children like retirement funds and why the new generation, Generation Z, is starting to say no to this culture. This topic is not simple, and I am not going to pretend like it is. Let us start by how widespread this culture is, because it is not a rare experience. It is a defining financial reality for the majority of Nigerian earners. According to PiggyVest 2023 Savings Report, one of the most comprehensive surveys of Nigerian financial behavior ever conducted, over 80% of income earners in Nigeria pay what is called black tax. What is black tax, you may ask? These are monies sent regularly to parents, siblings, and extended family. And for 56% of those people, this is not occasional. It is a monthly recurring expense, as predictable and unavoidable as electricity bills. OK Africa's deep dive on black tax among young Nigerians confirmed this. When they asked their community whether they would be willing to be financially responsible for their parents, the answers were overwhelmingly yes. But one Instagram comment summed up the reality perfectly. Willingly, yes. Capable, nah. And this happened against a backdrop where Nigerian young people are themselves economically crushed. Youth unemployment stands at 53%. Over 80 million young Nigerian youths are without jobs, earning nothing, yet expected to be financial backbones of their family the moment any income arrives. The result? A generation trying to build their own lives while simultaneously funding the lives of the generation above them, with nothing left over. As the Alternative Bank's financial analysis put it, the constant outflow of black tax is the reason personal savings feels like a myth for most young Nigerian earners. And for those who have japaed, japa means left Nigeria, for those who don't understand. It is even worse. Diaspora Africa documented the story of Adebayo Olumide, a Nigerian engineering student in Germany, on a full scholarship. His words exactly: "My parents depend on me for rent, and I also cover my younger siblings' school fees. It is overwhelming, but saying no is not an option. I work long shifts at a restaurant, not to save for my future, but to send money home." Now here's the part that nobody wants to talk about, mostly because it requires us to be honest about the government's role in creating this problem. Nigerian parents did not decide to rely on their children just for fun. They decided to rely on their children because the Nigerian state gave them absolutely no alternative. Let me show you exactly what the pension system looks like for the average Nigerian retiree. As of 2024 and 2025, over 92% of the Nigerian workforce operates in the informal economy: market traders, farmers, artisans, transport workers, small business owners. And of those 92%, fewer than 5% are covered by any form of pension. These tens of millions of Nigerians will retire with nothing to look forward to. No savings, no safety, no monthly income. Even for the lucky minority who are in the formal pension system, the situation is dire. The average monthly pension payment is 35,000 naira, an amount that covers less than 40% of basic urban living needs in 2025. That pension loses real value every single month. As of November 2025, only 17 of Nigeria's 36 states had fully implemented the contributory pension scheme. 12 states had not even begun. Unpaid gratuities in some states go back over 15 years. And here's the most shocking statistics of all. Over 49% of Nigerian public servants die shortly after retirement. According to the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, not from old age, from economic hardship, psychological trauma, and the cumulative effect of being abandoned by the system they served for decades. In December 2025, Nigeria's own House of Representatives unanimously passed an emergency motion describing the pension scheme as failing its purpose and leaving retirees unable to cope with rising inflation. They called for immediate reform. So when your parents say stuff like, "We raised you, now take care of us," they are also saying the government that was supposed to protect us in our old age stole our pension money, never paid us, and left us to die. Now let us talk about the effects of the black tax on those carrying it. Zikoko magazine published one of the most honest pieces ever written on this topic. It was titled, "I Am My Parents' Pension Plan." 7 Nigerians spoke about what it feels like to be the financial lifeline of their entire family. One respondent said, "Sometimes it feels like the only thing I am useful for in my family is sending money. I have been paying black tax since I started NYC in 2014. My mom used to work in a federal government parastatal, but got retrenched in 2007. Now I send money to my mom, 2 siblings, and a cousin every month. My dad passed 10 years ago, and I am the only child, so I am the only one handling such huge responsibilities." TNX Africa February 2026 investigation on the black tax trap followed one man whose story became a warning. He moved abroad, built his income from scratch through years of struggle, finally started to provide for himself and his new family, and then the financial demands from home began escalating. A significant portion of his income went back home to support his family. Over time, the demand increased, and despite working tirelessly, he was often left with nothing for himself or the family he was building. There was no surplus, no room to breathe. He fell ill, his health declined, and so did his spirit. And then there's this celebrity version of this story, because it doesn't matter how much you earn. Former Super Eagles captain John Mikel Obi, one of the most successful Nigerian footballers, spoke publicly about the crushing mental and financial strain of black tax. Mikel described how extended family members he had never met arrived expecting to be taken care of, and when he pushed back, some of them made threats. He described relatives who had effectively assigned him as caretaker to their children, treating his success as shared assets. If John Mikel Obi, with a Chelsea career and millions in the bank, could not escape these demands, what hope does the average Nigerian earning 150,000 monthly have? Now, here is where it gets really controversial, because Generation Z in Nigeria, Kenya, and across Africa are starting to say something that their parents' generation never dared to say. No. The Daily Nation in Kenya published a landmark piece on Gen Z. In it, they stated how Gen Zs are refusing to pay their parents' bills, and the quotes inside it are going to be very, very familiar to any young Nigerian. A University of Nairobi academic, Dr. Kenneth Ombongi, put the generational shift clearly. For millennials, once you finished school and started earning, sending money home wasn't debatable. Children were seen as economic and social assets, but Gen Zs are now having conversations and questioning that obligation. They don't believe their parents are entitled to their money just because they raised them. One of the women interviewed, Maria, 27 years old, described cutting financial ties with her family after years of being the sole provider. And this debate exploded in Nigeria in April 2026 when TikTok influencer Gege, the man with 2.4 million followers, who teaches men how to spend money on women, was accused by his own sister of neglecting his family despite his online success. Gege went public to defend himself, saying his financial capacity has been exaggerated and that he simply could not shoulder the burdens of lifting his entire family out of poverty. The internet was divided immediately, some calling him a disgrace, others calling him the only honest person in the room. Bella Naija tackled the philosophical heart of this debate directly in a June 2024 piece. There is a total difference between providing voluntarily and being compelled because you just must. We children should be considered as individuals with our own paths and potentials, not as financial investments. While providing for one's parent is a noble and necessary act, it should stem from a place of genuine care and not obligation. And an African educator named Mwalimu sparked a major continental debate in March 2026 when he said publicly, "Parents, our children's support is not a matter of responsibility. It is a matter of choice. We must manage our expectation and stop piling pressure on them. They were not born to take care of us. The response was outrageous, especially from the older generation. Now, I want to give you the counter argument to this. I have to deal with this fairly because the older generation are not entirely wrong. Many of those parents genuinely sacrificed. They went without a lot, sometimes for decades, to put these children through school, and in many cases, multiple family members sacrificed. Grandparents, uncles, aunties, the whole community pulled resources together to produce one graduate. And if you look at it from that perspective, the graduate is not just one person's child. They are the product of a collective investment. And in the absence of a functioning welfare state, the collective will expect a return. Business Day's analysis of black tax in Nigeria made this point clearly. The practice is rooted in Ubuntu, I am because we are, a philosophy of collective survival that has held African communities together for centuries. In the absence of institutional support, when government fails, families fill in the gap. That is not dysfunction, that is resilience. The Tribune in Nigeria also warned that relying on children is partly a rational response to a broken system. Relying on children for financial support in retirement can be a recipe for disaster. With increasing life expectancy, your children may still be working or facing their own financial challenges, but they acknowledged that for millions of Nigerian parents, there is simply no other option. The problem is not that parents want support. The problem is that in many families, this support has become a demand. Love has become debt. Gratitude has become obligation. And a system that was supposed to be rooted in community has become a system where one person, usually the most successful, which is also usually the firstborn, carries everything while everybody else watches. So the question is, what is the way forward? Because this circle is not sustainable. Parents relying on children, children burning out, relationship fracturing, and the evidence shows that it is getting worse, not better. For individual earners, I would say set a budget for what you contribute. The alternative bank financial guidance is practical. Give yourself permission to have a future first. I like what they said here. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Building your own financial stability isn't selfish. It is the only way you can provide sustainable long-term help. Decide on a fixed monthly amount, and that amount has to be genuine and affordable without destroying your own savings goals. Punch Nigerian landmark retirement analysis titled Retiring into a Life of Misery said it directly. It is neither realistic nor wise for parents to bank on their children as retirement plans. Every parent who is still working and still has income must start building their own financial buffer. The micro pension plan introduced by PENCOM in 2019 allows informal sector workers to contribute small amounts regularly. But as of September 2025, only 200,000 informal workers had enrolled. That is a national tragedy. The government must also invest urgently in free healthcare for the elderly, expand micro pension plan aggressively through mobile platforms, and hold employers accountable for the 32.27 billion in unpaid pension contribution that PENCOM is currently chasing down. And this is an advice for both sides. The conversation has to move from shame to honesty. Parents must stop weaponizing guilt, curse, and cultural obligation to extract money from children who are themselves drowning. And children must stop performance while silently resenting every transfer. The families that navigate this well are the ones who have open, honest, uncomfortable conversation about money. Let me leave you with this. The black tax is not just a financial problem. It is a symptom of a country that has failed its people at every level, failed to build pension system that works, failed to create enough jobs, failed to protect its elderly, and failed to build an institution that people can trust. When the state disappears, the family fills the gap. And when the family demands exceeds what one person can carry, that person breaks. Gen Z is refusing to be their parents' retirement plan is not selfish. In many cases, it is survival. But parents demanding support from children they raised is not greed either. In many cases, it is desperation. The real villain in this story is the one that never gets named, the Nigerian state. The governors who have not paid pension in 15 years, the pension funds administrators who stole the contributions, the government that built no safety net, and left every Nigerian family to figure it out. Until that changes, this circle will continue. Parents will lean on children, children will burn out, and nobody on either side will have enough. Drop your comments below. Are you paying black tax right now? Is it from love or obligation? Or you cannot even tell the difference right now? Subscribe, share this, and we'll keep having the conversation nobody else is willing to have. See you tomorrow.